Welcome to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. Coriander, we're here for Slasher Movie Club, talking about Dressed to Kill.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. From one of the greatest directors of all time, Brian DePalma. 1980. We're,
Yep.
it's funny. We're still hovering around 1980 and 81 for these slasher movies. It's crazy how
There's
many
so
slashers
many.
there were.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I can't
Right?
believe it. Let's check out the chat and see who we've got, and then we'll get going on this thing.
Sure.
Let's see. We got Drake saying we're back. What's up,
Nice.
man? Thank you for hanging out with us in our Candyman
Right?
video. That was really, really fun, man. Thank you so much. Drake saying, about to do a vid after this. Just wanted to drop by. Dressed to Kill is one of my faves. Doing a DePalma as well. Nice.
Nice.
I got to check that
Which
out,
one?
man. Yeah,
Right?
exactly. Let us know, man. Let us know. We got my man Neil. Neil's in the chat saying, I bought the digital version of this on Vudu about a year ago, but haven't watched it yet. Nice,
Oh,
man.
nice.
Yeah, you gotta check it out, man. And we will,
Yeah.
and I want to say this, we will be talking about spoilers. I'll give you guys the warning. We'll kind of do an overview real quick, but then because there's almost no way to talk about this movie without getting into spoilers. Yeah. So we'll let you know, Neil. We'll start off with an overview, though. Drake said, sorry, I was in Carrie mindset, but they have a hell of a Criterion. Yes, true enough. Saying that Silence of the Lambs has a cool one as well. Yeah, it does. One of my favorite films of all times. Let's see. He says, I'm doing Carrie, bro. All right. That's a great movie.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites. Yeah, it is.
Neil saying, spoilers are okay for me. No worries. Okay, man.
Okay.
Yeah, cool. And I got to admit, and I love DePalma, but I got to admit the spoiler in this, there was the twist, and then there was like a mini twist in it. The mini twist caught me off guard a little bit, but the major twist, you kind of see it a little bit. You do see it, to me anyways, a mile away. I don't know what you thought about that, Coriander, but I kind of saw the twist a mile away. Did you?
A mile away?
Well,
maybe not a mile away.
Yeah, but you saw it. Yeah. All right. Well, let's get this thing going, man. Again, Brian DePalma doing this movie, 1980. It starts off, and you're basically introduced to Angie Dickinson's
pretty
character.
Risque, right?
It is very risque. It starts off with a bathroom scene, and she's naked, and but it's a weird type of scene.
But
and
it's a body double, so it's not like
Well, yeah,
which everyone I'm sure knows.
Yeah, and we'll get to that too. But it's kind of a weird, eerie scene the way it's shot, and DePalma is fantastic with these types of things because you're trying to figure out what's going on. You don't really know. The cinematography is very, very good. There's an elegance to the shot and so forth. And then all of a sudden, she's got someone in the shower with her, and it's like boom, and it's like, wait a minute, and it's almost like his version of the shower scene from Psycho. You know what I'm saying? There are a lot of parallels between this and Psycho.
Oh, yeah.
And as far as
totally.
And we all know that DePalma was a huge Hitchcock fan. I mean, obviously.
Yeah, he was.
Who isn't?
And he brought lust and murder and a twist, just like Psycho did.
Absolutely, yeah. But we're introduced, and we realize that it's a dream scene. Okay.
Yeah.
And then we find that she's seeing.
But then you have her, right? But not only that, but you have this dream sequence. But then she's having loveless sex with her husband.
Right. Yes.
So right there, it tells you that she's not very satisfied with what she's got.
Right. And she's got a lot of things going on, and that's why she's seeing Michael Caine, who's her therapist. And it's just kind of an odd appointment that she has with him. The back and forth that they have, and Michael Caine obviously is a legend. We obviously adore Michael Caine and everything that he does. He was fantastic.
Yeah.
In this movie, what were you thinking about the story at this point?
Well, this woman, I mean, obviously, yeah, she's a sexually charged woman, because she even asked, her therapist, are you attracted to me?
Right.
do you want to have sex with me or something like that? And he's like, well, yes, but I'm married, and it's
Yeah.
like, wow, what kind of therapist is this? But
Right.
yeah, it's interesting. And then, yeah, you get to that museum scene where, again, that you got seduction taking place. And
Well, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's,
Once we get to that museum scene, well, actually, first let me get to the chat here. Fred was saying there's also a 40s movie called Dress to Kill, but it's based on a Sherlock Holmes novel. Oh yeah, nice. Drake saying Angie Dickinson had something about her that's attractive, but she's no Nancy Allen. That's a good point, Drake. But yeah, when we get to the museum scene, first of all, shout out to DePalma again. This scene and Coriander, I mean, you know this because I was saying it. This scene was so well done, and it was a long
yeah,
shot, and with the
yeah,
musical score and the cinematography,
definitely.
and there were
Hmm.
no words spoken. This scene is like at
Yeah.
least like 8 minutes, 7 minutes,
But
something like
not
that.
only that, from like the very beginning, there's not much dialogue.
That's
So
true
yeah,
too. Yeah, that's very true. But it's this flirtatious game of cat and mouse that she has
yeah,
with this man. And again, this museum seemed like it was the biggest museum of all time because there's so many goddamn hallways and corridors and twists and turns. And
yeah,
I think thematically, De Palma was also trying to illustrate Angie Dickinson's maze of emotions and maze of her feeling repressed and sexually repressed and all that type of stuff. But that scene was fantastically done. I remember
yeah.
saying it to you. I've never seen a scene done like that, and it was so well done. What did you think of that scene?
It was like kind of poetic and beautiful, because
Yes,
you had the art and you had these two chasing one another, and
yes,
then with the whole climax with, you know, once they meet up in the cab and
right,
they get down and dirty. So, yeah.
right. Yeah, but it was just a fantastic scene. It really, really was. Um,
Yeah.
But then you realize because what had happened is she had dropped one of her gloves. She had two gloves,
Yep.
and he had picked up one glove, and that was kind of like
Right.
the
But
the
she took
welcome.
it off too, right? To say,
Right,
hey, I'm married. So,
right,
yeah.
yeah. And then when she finally got out of the museum at the end of that scene, before she gets into the cab with him, she takes off her other glove.
Yep.
Now, the thing that's funny is at this point you may be thinking that this stranger means harm to her, but the truth of the matter is that her real killer picks up her other glove. And so there's a
Yeah.
lot of mystery to the movie at this point. And again, we're only
Mm-hmm.
about, I don't know, maybe about 15 minutes or so in. So it's really, really well done. I will give a lot of credit to that. But we
Yep.
also meet her son. She has a son. And shout, shout out to Keith Gordon from
Mm-hmm.
Christine fame and
Yep.
Jaws 2 and so forth. He always
Yep.
stands out as a young guy in these movies. But
Right?
he's one of those whiz kids in school, and you
Mm-hmm.
can see the type of relationship that they have as mother and son. His father is out of the picture, and now he's got the other guy who's basically being like a stepfather. But anyways, but you can see that they have a good relationship. It's a small scene, but it sets up some
Yep.
things that are going to be important for later on. Now,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, when we talk about the stranger that she basically gets into the cab with and then spends the night with, that scene also was done really, really well, and there was a lot of tension in that scene. And even when she's leaving the room in the middle of the night and so forth,
Yeah.
cinematography wise, what, well, and anything
It
else,
was
what were you thinking of that?
the slow camera work was great.
Yes,
I mean,
absolutely.
I thought, yeah. I mean, cinematography, everything. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was great.
Yeah, and De Palma was really holding the tension for a long
Yeah.
time. She gets in
Mm-hmm.
the elevator. Well, first of all, she spends all that time trying to write a note to him before she leaves,
But
and then of
yes,
course the little bit of the little sick gag that De Palma throws in there with
yes,
the paper.
STD, yes,
Yeah,
where it tells you that, that would be like anybody's nightmare. Here you are
Yeah.
fishing for a pen and you see
Right.
results of an STD test that's positive
Yes.
for whatever
And
it was. And it was like, oh my
yeah.
God.
And again, shout out to the way it was done because no words are being spoken in this scene,
Right.
right?
Right.
And Angie Dickinson, again, she just carried it very well. You could see the looks of hope on her
Concern on her
face.
face. Yeah.
Yeah. Concern when she finds that out, the excitement
Right.
and all of this type of stuff. But she goes to the elevator, and this is the big setup. This is kind of like,
Yeah.
this is Hitchcock's shower scene, basically. She gets into the elevator and she realizes that she forgot her ring. And
Yeah.
she's like, oh shit. And she's pushing the button, and the elevator, again, the tension is being held. And so
Mm.
eventually the
And you
elevator
had that
goes,
mother and daughter come in, and that little girl was just kept staring at her,
yes, yes,
So
just little
that would make
things.
you uncomfortable. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and she really sold that scene. Angie did,
She did.
playing as Kate Miller, by the way. But she decides to go back up after the mother and daughter get off the elevator. She goes back
Yep.
up. The elevator door opens up, and it's very well done. Then all of a sudden, yeah, man, Razor
Yeah.
Blade City, and it's
Yep.
like whoa. And the scene was done very very well.
Mhm.
Obviously, Kate puts up her hand in defense, and there's nothing that she can really do. And I mean, it
Yeah.
was just basically it was a well done scene. What did you think of this scene? Because this is really the first time that we get into anything that's killer oriented.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, yeah, you're like, holy shit, because you're
Mm-hmm.
like, who is this person? Because yeah,
Right.
normally, at least at some point, you see the killer. You know what I mean? And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
maybe we did, but at one point, you're not quite sure. You're like, who is this? Because
Right.
you can't really tell. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, poor friggin' Liz there. She was in the wrong place at the wrong time. She was with one of her
Yes.
customers.
Mm-hmm.
And just as they pushed that elevator door to get picked up, and yeah, man, right there, it
Yep.
opens. Her buddy there sees the chick on the floor, and he takes off
Mm-hmm.
running.
Yep.
And Nancy's like, oh my God, she wants to help her, but then she sees like the flash of the razor blade, and yeah,
Yeah.
she caught a glimpse of the killer. And
Mm-hmm.
then it just, I mean, then the chase begins. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and again, Nancy Allen, who's playing as Liz. I mean, she's basically the eyewitness, at this
Yeah,
point,
she is.
because like
Yep.
you said, her client just he bolted like a
Yeah,
punk,
he did.
like a
Yeah.
punk, instead of trying to
Yep.
help this woman, because they didn't
Yeah.
know, because all they knew is they saw a body there, and we don't
Right.
we don't really know if Kate was dead right there or dying, but they
Well,
didn't see
she
the.
even, yeah,
Go ahead.
Kate, she did move or she did something.
Yes, you're right.
To, so yeah, but go
Yeah,
ahead.
and I mean, but they didn't see the killer. They didn't see the killer
Right.
was still in there. So it's basically like, help this poor woman. I know it's New York, but damn, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
so anyways, so Liz gets the hell out of there. She was smart enough to do that, and obviously Kate dies. Now, this is all like within what the first 20 minutes of the movie, something like
Something
that.
like that.
So Kate is dead, and I'm like,
Yes, she
what?
is.
So that already threw me for a loop. And of course, the last time we had famously seen this was in Psycho with Janet Leigh.
Yeah.
So it's like, wow, DePalma's doing his riff on Psycho. You have the protagonist that you're
Yeah, you
following,
do.
and we were, and don't get me wrong, Janet Leigh, in Psycho, we were following. Well, actually, I won't say that because I was going to say with Kate in this story, maybe we were even more invested in her as a character, but I'm not going to say that because I was pretty invested in Janet Leigh in Psycho. But
Yeah. I think
needless
I
to
was more
say,
invested in Janet than Kate,
yeah,
really.
but needless to say, my thought of it when I first saw this movie was, okay, she got attacked, but she's
Hmm.
going to survive, and then she's going to be stalked. I didn't think she was going to get killed right out,
Yeah, man.
right? So,
Right.
anyways, but Nancy Allen, they go to the police, and who is the detective on the case? Coriander. Who is
Oh,
that? Good
your
old
boy,
Dennis Franz.
right?
Good old Dennis Franz, who always plays that cop, that
Yeah,
New
he
York
does.
cop. He's
Yep.
awesome.
Yep.
Legendary. But yeah, so he's trying to figure out the case. He talks to Liz. He talks
Hmm.
to Michael Caine's character. He obviously is the doctor, Dr. Robert Elliott.
Yep.
And he's shocked when he finds out that his client has been killed. He's like,
Yeah.
oh my
And his
God.
razor's missing, his razor blade.
Yes. And
Yeah.
so the mystery starts to really widen at this point, because we
Mm.
also find out that Dr. Elliott thinks that it could be a troubled other client of his who
Hmm.
who has some identity issues and so forth. So anyway, so
Yep.
it's all setting up for a lot of great stuff here. But the bottom line is at this point in the story, Nancy Allen, who's playing Liz, is basically being stalked, and you had some great scenes
Yes,
um,
she was.
where it was like, holy shit, that subway scene was done
Yes.
fantastically.
Yeah,
What you think
because
of the
she had the
subway scene?
killer. It was crazy because, yeah, she had the killer coming after her. So she's running from that. And then
Yes,
she's thinking, well, I'm going to go over to these guys and maybe I'd be okay. But no,
yes,
then these guys, this gang of guys start chasing her. They get on like
yeah,
the subway and everything, the subway
yes,
train. And so doesn't the killer. And
yeah,
there's a cop. And she's trying to tell the cop, hey, this is happening. And the cop's like, yeah, is it really,
right, yeah. Totally didn't believe her. It was a great
Yeah,
scene. The,
right? It
the thing,
was.
the thing that gets me with this movie is the tension was very good, very thick, and it
Yes.
was
Yep.
really, it was done well. But that
Yeah.
scene on the subway was really, really good. Drake was saying very Hitchcock camera work on the elevator scene. I agree. Yeah,
Yeah.
no doubt. Neil was saying DePalma is such a great director. He could film paint drying and make it interesting.
Right?
You're right, man. You're right.
Oh man.
Oh man. Drake said, he said, screw all that jazz. Talking about the guy who ran once he saw Angie Dickinson dead.
Right?
Uh, Slasher Fred saying, speaking of Dennis Franz, he was also in Psycho 3. That's right.
Yeah, he
Yes.
was.
Good job on that one, Fred.
Yep.
And we got my man Brian. Brian's in the chat saying, hey, Night and Coriander. How you doing,
Hello.
Brian? Nice to see you, man. Just talking about Dress to Kill. Um,
Right.
but yeah, so anyways, to make a long story short here, at this point, we don't know who the killer is. Nancy Allen doesn't know who the killer is. She only saw the glimpse. She knows
Yep.
it was a
She thinks it's a
blonde.
lady. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. We all do, and
Well, yeah.
and then you have Michael Caine. He's trying to figure out the mystery on his end because he has a patient that calls
Yeah.
and leaves a message
Yep.
and says, I killed one already. I'm going to
I
kill the
took
one
your
who saw me.
blade. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So there's multiple things going on. But
Yep.
when Nancy Allen goes through that whole subway thing and she gets attacked, then it kind of the film kind of changes a little bit because then you realize that Keith Gordon, who's the son of Kate, Angie
Hmm.
Dickinson, he wants to find out who murdered his mom. And I
Yeah.
can definitely understand that. He's a whiz
Little
kid.
detective on the case.
Yeah, so he does his detective work and so forth, and and
Hmm.
and also, um, he's pretty damn handy. You have that scene where he
Yeah.
was timing people coming in and out of the doctor's office. Again, these
Yep.
were great scenes directed by
Definitely.
DePalma. What were you
And
thinking
not
about him?
only that, yeah, I thought he was great because not only was he investigating this crime that, obviously that took the life of his mother, but he
Hmm.
saved, Liz as well from the
Yeah,
killer. So,
yes,
yeah.
he did. Yeah,
Mhm.
he actually did save her with
Yep.
some homemade mace, he said. So it was some cool
Yeah.
stuff. Um,
Right?
and you also have Michael Caine, who goes to another doctor um,
Yep.
on the answering machine. This troubled client, I think the name was
Bobby.
Bobby, was
Yeah.
talking about, hey, I'm trying to get a sex reassignment, and
Yeah.
you better tell the doctor that I'm okay, and this and that. And so Michael Caine actually goes to that doctor and basically wants to find out about Bobby and basically
Mhm.
letting the doctor know, like, hey, this guy
He
is
took
a
my
killer.
razor. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, it all comes down to the finale. To me, Coriander, the last third of this movie, when you've got Liz who figures, hey, we've got to find out this. We gotta get the appointment book of Dr. Elliott. That way, we can identify who the killer is. And that was the whole
Yeah.
reason that Keith Gordon, the son, Peter, he was timing people coming in and out of the office. He was trying to figure out how they could best do it. So they come up with this this big plan where you have Liz going into the office, and she basically figures that she's going to try to seduce Dr. Elliot.
But also try to look at his books to see who the clients were, so they could try to figure out who the killer was.
Right. And she goes through this whole thing where she's talking to him, and she's like, well, let's do it, and this and that. And again, Michael Caine, shout out again to Michael Caine, because in this movie,
he finally gives in. Supposedly he's giving in.
Well, right, but he's just such a fantastic actor. He really is. And in this scene, there was, well, we'll get to that, but he's just great. But so Peter, played by Keith Gordon, he's watching all of this through the window, right? And he's waiting for her to basically get separated from Dr. Elliot so she can find the appointment book, get the information, and either throw it out the window to him or whatever, right? But then it gets to this point where she does get a chance to go through his drawers and stuff like that. And she's trying to find the appointment book. She finally finds it, and then the lights go off. Yeah. And it's like, oh, shit. And you start to realize everything that you need to realize. What were you thinking at this point in the movie?
Well, you really didn't know what to think, because you saw, Dr. Elliot there taking his clothes off, getting ready to what you think is, gonna get lucky. Right. And next thing you know, she's being attacked. And
Yep. And it was a great scene the way it was done, because it's so dark and it's lightning outside, thundering and lightning, and then the flash of lightning happens, and then boom, you see the killer right behind her. But here's the other part.
And that guy who was outside too is saying, "Behind you,"
Right. Yeah, Peter is right there at the window, and he's saying, look out, behind you. But here's the mini twist. All of a sudden behind him is a blonde. Right? Is another blonde who basically grabs him, and I'm like, wait a minute. Are there two killers? Is the real killer behind Peter? Who's that in the room with Liz? So you start to really, you thought you knew everything, but you realized that you didn't. And I thought that was a fantastic little mini twist. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Real quick, too, in the chat, let me just catch up to these guys. Brian was saying, I forgot to watch the movie in preparation for this stream, but there are a lot of great scenes in this film, like the art museum, maybe Angie Dickinson is being stalked, and the scene at the end. Yeah, absolutely, man. We were talking about...
They were both stalking each other, because she at one point was that, like, almost had that look of, oh my God, I lost him,
Right. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. But yeah, we talked about the museum scene, and it's just fantastic, Brian. It really, really is. Neil was saying, Franz looks really young here, but Michael Caine always looks 70 no matter how far back you go. Kind of like Tommy Lee Jones. Yeah, man. Brian says, with the shower and the asylum or whatever, the close-ups of the Angie Dickinson or Karen Allen character is a stand-in that had to have their pubic hair colored to match Karen Allen's or Angie's.
Yeah, because she was a redhead, so they had to get rid of that because that wouldn't have matched.
Yep. Brian saying Dennis Franz, I think, has been cast for tons of cop roles. Yeah, he has. He really, really has. But so the twist at the end is that there's another blonde, right? And it's like, what? Yeah. And then all of a sudden, right when Liz is about to get killed, all of a sudden, pop, 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 you hear a gun go off through the window, and it's like, wait a minute, what? And you still don't know. What's really happening. You come to find out that the killer inside the room with Liz was Michael Caine, Dr. Elliot.
Yes,
doctor. Yeah, which, it kind of, to me, that wasn't, he
obviously, had issues with, because back then when you're a transgender, you didn't have the help that people have today. You know what I mean? Yep. So for someone who feels like they're not themselves, they're trapped in a body that they shouldn't be in. Obviously it drove them to go a little crazy,
Yeah. I mean, and the parallels to Norman Bates is huge, because the
Yeah.
thing of it is, he kills Angie Dickinson's character because she turned
He
him
was
on, right?
exactly. Yep.
She turned on Elliot's side of things, and so
Yep.
Bobby had to
Took
protect
over.
and took
Yep.
over, just like with Norman. Every time he got turned
Yep.
on by a woman, the mother
Yep.
side of his personality came out. So, you know, a lot of parallels to Psycho and Hitch,
Definitely. Yep.
which was really interesting. So, but
Yeah.
so we realize it's Michael Caine, and and I'm still wondering who's the other blonde. Is that the real villain or what? And we come to find
Right.
out, because then they have the
No.
scene at the police station. We come to find out that the
Yep.
other blonde was
It's
working,
an undercover cop. Yeah.
yes, working for the cops in good old Dennis, France. So it's kind of like, wow. And then, you know, you kind of have
Yeah.
that same type of understanding of why Elliot did what he did.
Mhm.
You have that scene where Liz and Peter are having lunch, and basically she's like, "Hey, you're a good kid. I'm glad you were there for me, and you know we'll be
Yeah.
friends and all that type of stuff." So it's kind of like a cool, happy type of ending. But then Peter's like, "Well, hey, if you don't have anywhere to stay, you can stay at my place tonight, and you know, blah blah blah." So she goes to stay at his place as friends, and then you have the other shower scene, Coriander. Now, I gotta admit, man, when I started seeing this, I'm like, wait a minute, what is happening? It's like, it's crazy. And actually, and I'm sorry, but before that shower scene, we got to go to the asylum, because the
Yep.
big thing that they had asked is what's going to happen to Elliot. And I think it was one of the police psychiatrists or whatever was saying that he has to basically they have to basically see if he can stand trial. You know, he's got to
Yep.
stay in an institution, an asylum, until he becomes sane enough to stand trial. And so you
Mhm.
see this fantastic scene in the asylum, the way that the camera pans into the asylum, and it's not dark. I mean, it's dark, but you can see, but it's just the way that it's lit, and it's so creepy and so surreal.
Yeah.
What were you thinking of that scene, Coriander?
Yeah, it was definitely creepy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, it it brought it to the next level, and
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it was great.
And you see Michael Caine, who's laying there, and he's been shot, so he's injured. And there's this
Mhm.
nurse, and you know, I love DePalma, but I'm not going to lie to you. That nurse was way too close to you know, a client, or I should say to a person in an asylum, because she's like leaning over
Yeah,
him to
restraints should
to
have been
restrain.
better, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so of course he chokes her, kills
Yeah.
her, and then it's so reminiscent. We were just talking about Candyman earlier, how Helen took the clothes of a nurse to kind
Yeah.
of get out of the place, and this is the same type of thing. Michael Caine
Yeah.
took the
Yeah,
clothes
he
of the
did.
nurse, and the
Yep.
camera pans up above him, and you see all these people from the
Crazy people.
asylum
Yeah.
staring down like they're like they're watching a
Yes.
movie.
It's
Creepy as
like,
hell.
right, what kind of place is this where you've got people in bed, that
Yeah.
are, who knows, maybe they are too dangerous, but then you've got these other people that can just stand and watch above you. It's so
Yes.
weird and friggin' creepy.
Yes, absolutely. And real quick before we finish with that finale, just to catch up in the chat, Brian was saying, I saw a DePalma documentary and he sets the budget at a certain limit, but it always goes a little over, usually on all of his films. The DePalma documentary is really worth watching. I'd love
I
to see
bet,
that. Where did you see
right?
it, Brian? Or where can I see it? Let me know, please. We got Byron back in the chat with us. Thanks so much, man, for joining
Hey,
us. We appreciate that. How
right?
you doing? Let's see. We also have Byron saying, "My name is Michael Caine," right? And he says, "I described this scene to someone in college and got reported to security by someone who overheard." Oh man,
Wow,
yeah, yeah,
that's crazy.
yeah. It is. It is. Let's see. Brian was saying, "Night. I met Monique Dupree on the set of a horror film I was on, who is the sister of Tony Todd." Oh,
That's
that is
cool.
so cool, man. That is
Yeah, it
awesome.
is.
Wow. What a coincidence. That is awesome, man. All right. Saying, I saw it at Bethel Cinema a few years ago. Okay, the documentary.
Nice.
Okay. I'm going to see if I can find it too, man, because I would love to see that. But yeah, so Michael Caine is grabbing the clothes of the nurse to get out of the asylum. And
Yeah.
then we're back to that second shower scene. There's a
Yep.
lot of duality in this movie, Coriander. You know, a lot of twos. There were two gloves for Angie Dickinson. There was
Yep.
two shower scenes, two
Yeah.
blondes that were following
Yeah.
Liz, split screens. There's a lot of duality, and of course, the ultimate was Michael Caine as these two parts of himself. But in this shower scene, it was well done. And you see Michael Caine standing at the doorway, and you can see the
Mm-hmm.
nurse shoes. And Liz sees that as she opens up the shower, and she's trying to figure out what to do, and she's sneaking out of the shower, opening
Yeah.
up the medicine cabinet, thinking that she's going to get a weapon. And all of a sudden, you look at the shoes and you realize that there's no feet in the shoes. So the killer
Yeah.
is right behind her, and then bam. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
I'm like, they're killing Nancy Allen too? And
Yeah.
then
Yep.
you hear that familiar music cue that comes
Mm-hmm.
from one of your favorite movies of all time, Coriander. That dun,
Carrie.
dun, dun, dun,
Yes.
and Nancy Allen wakes up
Yep.
screaming, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What did you think of this scene, Coriander?
You know, like I said, there were parts of this movie, yet you had obviously Psycho, but then with the music, it reminded you of Carrie also.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And I mean, just like with Carrie, the movie opened with a shower scene, and just
Yes.
like with Carrie, it ended with a dream sequence. So yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I was very interested because Brian DePalma has done a lot of movies dealing with personality things. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's Sisters, Carrie,
Yep.
this,
Yep.
what is it called? Body Double,
Mm-hmm.
and probably another couple. But anyways, it's just interesting that he kind of goes back to this well. And me and you both were saying that's just like Carrie, and
Yeah.
which is not a bad thing because Carrie is fantastic. But I must admit,
Right.
I was surprised that he kind of stayed in that lane a little bit. And of course,
Yeah.
Nancy Allen being in it
Was
too.
in Carrie, correct?
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
This is like, instead of Sissy Spacek, who played Carrie, that was her movie. This was Nancy's movie, because it pretty much was,
Yeah,
so
absolutely. No, there's no doubt about that.
yeah.
But let's jump into a few fun facts too for this movie, because it's some fantastic stuff with this movie. Let's start off with our first fun fact, Coriander. Young DePalma.
Yeah, so when he was a young man, at his mother's urging, she asked to have him follow his father using recording equipment to try to catch him cheating on her.
Wow.
So this inspired the movie. Yeah.
Wow. Dang.
Hey, could you imagine?
That's
go follow
crazy.
your father and see if he's, screwing this other bitch.
Right?
It's crazy.
Let's see, our next one. Nancy Allen. The great Nancy Allen.
Yeah, so DePalma wrote this role specifically for her. Yep.
Absolutely. And they were married at
They were married. Yes, they were.
Absolutely. And I think Brian was asking that too, saying, wasn't Nancy Allen married to DePalma at this point? Yes.
Yes, they were. Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah. Our next one, the shower scene. Shower scene.
Obviously that was a body double for Angie. Yeah. But yeah.
Absolutely. Our next one that we have, Angie's favorite.
Yeah, she said this was like one of her favorite movies of all time. Yeah, she loved this.
Right.
Yeah, she loved playing this role.
Very cool. The X rating.
Yeah, it was going to be X-rated, but DePalma fought it, and it got, had it brought down to R. So good for him.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely a high class slasher movie. There's no doubt about that. And of course, the Carrie connection that we talked about.
Yes. Yeah. The beginning and the ending. Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. And also another fun fact too, there are a couple other ones, but the one that I want to throw out there too is that Sean Connery was originally asked to play the role of Dr. Elliot instead of Michael Caine, or before Michael Caine, I should say. And he wanted to do it, but he had prior commitments in his schedule, so he had
He's got that. Yeah, he's got that voice. It's a good thing the killer really didn't talk much because,
Yeah.
damn, I can't see him trying to play a transgender just
Right.
because he's so manly,
Right.
and
Yeah.
yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. No, I think Michael Caine was a great choice,
He
but of course,
I think so too, yeah.
yeah. But of course, Sean Connery did team up with DePalma later on in The Untouchables, which was a
Mm,
fantastic movie,
yes.
and also gave Sean Connery his first Oscar, which was long overdue.
Yes.
Long overdue. Yeah.
Yep.
Um, let's see. Byron is saying, I agree. It is good. Yeah. I mean, this movie. Oh, I think, yeah, because Brian was saying, I think The Conversation is one of the most underrated films of the 70s, as well as one of Coppola's best films. Yeah, yeah, I can agree with that. I really could. Um, but yeah, the ending of this movie was fantastic because you do have that surreal scene in the asylum, and then of course Nancy Allen in the
Yeah.
shower, and it's really it just kind of goes together really well. And like we said, she wakes up from this nightmare, and you've got Peter there saying, it's okay, I'm here," and she's like freaking out. She did a
Yeah.
great job in that scene. She was really,
Yeah.
really believable, like she had just woken up from a nightmare. It was really good. But
Yeah.
final thoughts on this, Coriander. Final thoughts. I mean, this movie was problematic in some ways when it was first released, as far as this whole idea of the whole transgender viewpoint of it, and the
Mm,
callbacks that it had with Psycho. But even more so today, I mean, the movie's 40 years old, and
mhm.
there are a lot of people that do see problems with it, as far as this whole connection with transsexuals and violence. Um, what do you think about that? Do you think that's problematic for the movie, or do you think it's much ado about nothing?
You know, this person obviously had mental issues,
Yes.
along with having a sexual identity crisis also.
Right.
So, I mean, if you take it as it is, I mean, some people take things to another level, and I
Hmm.
could probably see where some people would be upset about it.
Yes.
But I mean, I don't know. I didn't think that it crossed a line, or
Yeah.
that, uh, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I
No.
said before, it's good that people who have, sexual identity problems have the support that they have now,
Yeah.
so that they don't feel stifled, or they don't feel that they can express themselves and turn to drugs or whatever, or
Right.
violence,
Right.
so I mean, it sucks that, I don't know, that people still, yeah, I don't know. I'm done with I don't want to continue with that,
Okay.
because
I get
we
you.
could take this to a totally different place,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
That's
I'm
okay.
all set. Yeah.
Drake was saying The Untouchables, a classic. Nice point, Knight. Yeah,
Mm.
it was a very good movie. And Brian was asking, could this film be made today? I don't. I think it could be made. I don't think it would be. Well, one, it wouldn't be as shocking, and I don't think it could.
Yes, yes.
And I don't think it could be done to the full extent like this was. I think that the 1980 was a different time in
You got
movies.
away with a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah.
Brian saying it probably couldn't be made the right way unless it had been done. Yeah, yeah. And Drake saying they would have to tone down the transgender part because the world is soft now, and they didn't think of these things then, at least not like they do now. Exactly, that's what we were saying too.
Yeah.
It would definitely have a different vibe to it, and
Yeah.
it wouldn't be as in your face for sure. But
Mm.
this is a fantastic movie, and
It was.
the fact that they call it a high class slasher, it really really is. I mean, this is a huge difference than than the other week when we did Maniac. I mean, you talk about opposite
Right.
ends of the spectrum for the slasher genre. I mean,
Yeah.
this was very high class and very well done. So many great scenes in this movie as far as just the direction and cinematography. So if
Hmm.
you're the type of person that appreciates that in a movie, I think you'll still find a lot of good things with this film. And yeah, that's about
Yeah.
it. That's about all we got for
Right.
Just to Kill.
Yeah.
For you guys in the chat, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. And please give the video a like. That would help out the channel greatly. But also, please, in the comment section, let us know what you think of Dress to Kill. What are your favorite moments? And how does this movie still hold up today, 40 years later? That would be an interesting conversation to have in the comment section. So please do that. That would also
Yeah.
help support us. As we head on out, Byron says, I hope we have another 1980s where there's more artistic freedom. I agree.
Yeah.
I really do. I mean, I think that's what makes these movies that we're dealing with for Slasher Movie Club on Mondays fun to do, because it was from a time when there was more artistic freedom. So we're seeing so much creativity and just ability in these slasher movies,
Hmm.
and it's fun to see that.
Yeah. I'm
Drake's saying,
excited for next week.
yeah. Drake saying, have a great night. Corey, see you next time, guys. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
you too.
Brian saying, thank you, Night and Coriander. Thanks a lot,
Yeah.
man. We appreciate you hanging out with us. Drake saying, always a like and a share, bro. Hey, we appreciate that,
Nice.
man. We really, really do. Thank you
Right?
so much for the support. It means so much more than we could even say. Neil saying, great stream as always. Thanks so much, man. You're awesome, man. Can't wait to get you back on here talking some slashers with us. But for next Monday, Coriander,
Yeah.
usually I'd play a clip to tell us what it is. But how about, do you remember
Oh
what it's going
no.
to be?
Uh I don't have my list. No. I
Okay.
thought you were gonna
So
play something.
no. I figured,
Oh
well, because
no.
I figured we'd kind of be more of a surprise for things.
Okay.
But Byron saying night. I like the video.
Nice.
Thanks a lot, man. We appreciate it. But we will catch you guys next Monday for a surprise episode for Slasher
You're not
Movie
gonna
Club. So
say it?
no, I'm gonna keep it as a surprise, man.
What?
We'll keep it as a surprise. We'll be
Ah,
back
jeez.
next Monday at 8 for Slasher Movie Club, guys. So thank you so much. If you're watching this, if you're listening to this, you are the Night Watch. Peace out, guys.
Upchurch.